welcome to On the Record. In the run-up to the August primary, we are going to introduce you to the candidates you'll be seeing on the ballot. Now, to do that, we'll be hosting a series of candidate forums right here. Before we begin, let's go over the rules. Each candidate was provided the list of questions, which we will get to in just a moment. They'll have 1 minute each to answer those questions. Seating arrangements for the forum were determined by the order they'll be appearing on the ballot. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes at the start to introduce themselves and then 2 minutes at the end as well. With that in mind, let's begin this forum. Walter Hayes and Roger Koch are our guests today. They are candidates for the Missouri House of Representatives in the 162nd District. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. As promised, 2 minutes to introduce yourselves. Walter, we'll begin with you.
Sure. My name is Walter Hayes, and I am running for the Missouri State Representative position in District 162. I've lived in Carl Junction since 1999. That is my home, and I get to share it with my wonderful wife, Regina. Regina, my wife, spent 25 years teaching in the Joplin school system, and then she retired about 16, 17, somewhere in that area. So we know firsthand the challenges that Missouri families face every day. I've served our community as a member of the Board of Aldermen. I've done that now lately from 2024 until present. I currently serve as the budget chairman there. So I've been involved in local government. I've been involved with things like the Chamber of Commerce in the past there in Carl Junction. So I've dealt with building codes, stormwater budgets, real issues that affect homeowners on a regular basis.
And Roger.
Yes, my name is Roger Koch, and I am also running for State Representative District 162. I grew up in District 162, went to school in District 162, and graduated from District 162. After graduation, I chose to serve in the military. I spent 18 months in combat and eventually retired with 20 years of service. I then went to Missouri Southern, received my degree, and was given the opportunity to coach and teach in Carl Junction and Joplin school districts, the public schools. I was then blessed with the opportunity to work for Freeman Healthcare and the Ozark Center, with the opportunity to work with veterans and their struggles. Working throughout our community and various state programs kind of played a significant role in my decision to run for office. I guess I was just tired of being the armchair quarterback and wanted to see a change and be that difference. So that being said, I strongly support our veterans and plan to expand veteran benefits and expound on state veteran programs. I also support the school choice with a focus on public schools. I believe that every child, regardless of zip code, deserves a fully funded classroom with well-paid teachers, a safe place to learn, and resources to give students the opportunity to thrive. I also support those struggling in silence. Mental health is just that, it's health. I will champion increased funding for community health centers, school counselors, and crisis intervention programs. Ultimately, no one should face their darkest days alone. So the majority of my life has been spent in District 162, and I'm honored to represent the citizens of this district in Jefferson City. I'd appreciate your
Roger,
support.
that is our time for the intro portion. Let's move on to our questions. Again, gentlemen, thank you both for participating in this. Walter, first question goes to you. Where do you stand on data center development in Missouri?
Data centers have been an interesting conversation of late. Fact is, Missouri already has almost 100 data centers in the state. But according to everything I've seen, this is not a brand new phenomenon by any stretch, but the rapid expansion has created questions, issues for some people, and I think those questions deserve to be answered. I support the idea of the business, but I also know that there should be potentially regulations, there should be transparency between these companies that are putting these things in so that people know exactly what they're getting and have their questions answered.
Thank you very much, sir. Again, Roger, where do you stand on data center development in Missouri?
Of course, I don't have a say-so over the entire state of Missouri. But speaking directly about District 162 and Southwest Missouri in general, I think we need to apply the brakes. Put major community and county guardrails up to ensure our local safety and protection are at the forefront. I don't think any progress should be allowed until multiple tests and studies are performed, such as the water consumption, energy usage, noise and air pollution. A lot of the areas across the state are relying on moratoriums to halt the data center development, which is great, but I also think that the moratoriums are more of a Band-Aid. To fully protect Southwest Missouri is going to require not only moratorium while proper tests are being performed, but also specific and strict local guidelines for not only the immediate, but the long-term safety of our communities as well.
All right, thank you very much, sir. And Roger, again, we'll start with you with this question. Should Missouri add restrictions to the use of artificial intelligence?
Well, as we know, the AI is quite a monster that we all use. And like I say, I think adding specific restrictions should definitely be enforced with the AI. Restrictions mainly focusing on the safety of our kids and our grandkids. I also think that it's beneficial to educate our entire communities at communities and state level, young and old, about the deception, the scams, and the deep fakes that often take place throughout AI.
Walter, same question. Should Missouri add restrictions to the use of artificial intelligence?
Well, I'll start by saying I don't like having a need for a lot of regulations, but it just seems like invariably we ask for it because we don't know how to regulate ourselves. So yes, targeted common sense restrictions that protect people without killing innovation, I believe, are appropriate. AI has incredible potential, but it also brings real risk to privacy, election integrity, and jobs. And Missouri should require clear disclosure when AI-generated deepfakes or contents are used in political advertising in elections, for instance. And we have to protect personal data from unauthorized scraping by government or big tech. So, I bring a unique background here. I've worked in a form of AI for well over 30 years. AI's got really big lately, but it's been around for a long time. And of course, it works through data centers. So they kind of go hand in hand, I'm afraid.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Walter, we'll start with you on this question. Where do you stand on the video slot machines that have appeared in gas stations, bars, and other places, and the Attorney General's efforts in regards to those?
These machines are illegal gambling devices. Plain and simple, a federal judge earlier this year has already ruled that they violate Missouri law. So I strongly support what the Attorney General has done in the way of aggressive enforcement on these. The lawsuit, seizures, crackdowns, there is no legitimate gray area, or at least there shouldn't be. These machines, I think, prey on addiction. They can potentially harm families and rural communities, for that matter. So we should not legalize or tax them to just plug a budget hole, but government's job at the end of the day is to protect families, not to let just anything in. So we should enforce the law and not look the other way.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Again, Roger, same question for you. Where do you stand on the video slot machines that have appeared in gas stations, bars, and other places, and the Attorney General's efforts in regards to them?
And I couldn't agree more with Walter's comments. It's though a lot of people throughout the state might talk a different tune on this, because it does bring the revenues that the games bring into the state. But I personally take a deeper look and evaluate the situation from a different lens. These illegal slot machines exploit the vulnerable to concentrate in low-income areas and have the potential of attracting several unwanted issues into our communities. I think that these machines need to be out of our neighborhoods and back into the casinos where they belong. If we give gas stations and bars the authority to have video slot machines in their establishments, what's next?
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Again, Roger, we'll start with you on this question. Property tax relief was a widely discussed legislative topic this past session that did not make it to the finish line. Should something be done at the state level on property taxes? And if so, what does that look like to you?
Well, first of all, I've never fully agreed or wanted to reinvent the wheel. That being said, I think that the circuit breaker, for instance, is a good tax relief. It helps our seniors and disabled community. But I think it needs to be revisited and possibly adjust the criteria and stipulations of it. I also think that this type of tax relief should be considered for other categorically citizens within the state, such as the military veterans.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Walter, same question for you. Property tax relief was a widely discussed legislative topic this past session that did not make it to the finish line. Should something be done at the state level on property taxes, and if so, what does that look like to you?
Well, ultimately, property taxes is by and large more of a local issue, but certainly if Amendment 5 were to pass, there are possibility that it could on its own bring some relief on property taxes. But overall, I do believe that we should figure out a way to get away from property taxes in general. It's just not right that you effectively rent everything you've already bought and paid for, because you have to pay property taxes on it every year, whether that be real estate or personal. So I would love to do something to get rid of that, but we do have to be careful about how we do it, because schools, for instance, are largely funded by those property taxes, and different cities, especially smaller municipalities that don't have large sales tax bases, also have that property tax that they rely on. So I do believe it's something we want to do, need to do, but we have to do it carefully and make sure that we are paying attention to how we do it. It's just not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing, that, in my opinion.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Walter, we'll start with you on this question. The budget is expected to be a major focus in the upcoming session. What are your thoughts on the best practice for crafting Missouri's budget?
It's going to be interesting simply because my understanding, what I've been told, is in the last 8 years, the general revenues to the state of Missouri have grown by about 36%, but at the same time, or 39%. But at the same time, our spending has grown by some 86%. So, I mean, that just doesn't math. We're going to have to do something there. So how we do that, there are any number of different ways we might approach it, zero-based budgeting perhaps, or priority-based budgeting maybe. But we're going to have to take a hard look at how we do this, because unless we can seriously grow revenue, we're going to have to make cuts along the way. We just don't have any choice. So it's going to be a very interesting session when it comes to the budget.
Thank you very much, sir. Roger, same question for you. The budget is expected to be a major focus in the upcoming session. What are your thoughts on the best practice for crafting Missouri's budget?
I think a lot of this topic depends on the outcome of Amendment 5, the income tax elimination. If it passes, a lot of time is going to be spent setting up revenue growth triggers that cuts the income tax rate over time. Making those sound decisions, which will eliminate income taxes entirely. If it does not pass, I envision working very closely with the state auditor to determine sustainable ways to address the financial projections without solely relying on the expanded sales tax base. Either way, it will entail working with multiple groups in Jefferson City to reach the same goal, to get our state budget back in check.
All right, and final question, Roger, we'll begin with you. Should Missouri go back to a presidential preference primary?
Though not everyone across the state will agree with this stance, speaking for the majority of District 162 voters, they do want to reinstate this presidential preference primary. One of the main reasons that I hear from my district wants to reinstate it because they want to ensure that their individual voice and vote is heard and counted. As for me personally, yes, I think that the presidential preference primary brings out more people to the polls. And I think it's extremely important to have as many people vote as possible.
All right, Walter, same question for you. Should Missouri go back to a presidential preference primary?
Yes, I believe that we should, but I think two things need to happen for that to be worth the money that it costs. One is, I personally believe we need to go to a closed primary. And secondly, I believe that we need to make sure that that primary, the results of that primary are binding on the caucuses that still happen in the local central committees after that primary. Historically, as I understand it, They have never been binding in the past, and those local caucuses still had the ability to pick whomever they wanted to, rather than the preference of the people. And it should be the preference of the people.
Again, gentlemen, thank you so much. That does conclude the question portion of this forum. But as promised, we're going to give each candidate 2 minutes for closing remarks. Roger, we'll begin with you.
Okay. You know, I do know what it means to serve. In fact, I spent 2 decades in military uniform doing just that. I'm a man who has already proven under far higher stakes than a campaign that I am committed. I show up and I do the job. District 162 doesn't need another politician loosely using the terms duty, honor, service, and commitment in Jefferson City. It needs someone who's already lived that experience and continues to live it. Be it serving in the military, teaching in a classroom, or choosing to represent the citizens of District 162. Duty, honor, service, and commitment are the pillars that I live by. I've served my country, my state, my community for decades before I ever thought about putting my name on a ballot. And I'm not done serving yet. When I say I'll fight for veterans, for Missouri classrooms, and for families struggling with mental health, those aren't just talking points. These are the same missions that I've carried and advocated for my entire adult life. Just moving from the battlefield to Capitol. This election's not about me. It's about the citizens of District 162. I believe those same citizens deserve a leader. Deserve a leader they can trust. A leader that has life experiences. And ultimately, a leader who will listen and represent the citizens of District 162 in Jefferson City. I appreciate your ongoing support and ultimately your vote for Roger Koch on August 4th. Thank you. God bless. And Roger that.
Walter, again, 2 minutes, closing remarks.
Thank you again for the chance to share my views. I'm running for state representative because government, I believe, has drifted too far from the people. The people it's supposed to serve. On issue after issue, we seem to see the same pattern. Big interest in centralized power, gaining ground while families, taxpayers, and local communities lose ground. I want to help turn that around. I bring a unique combination of experience, hands-on local government as your alderman, and then decades of real-world technology, process experience, leadership experience, deep study of the Constitution, and a lifelong commitment to faith, family, and this community. My vision is straightforward. Limited government that protects individual liberty and the family. Fiscal responsibility that delivers tax relief instead of more spending. Strong local control instead of one-size-fits-all mandates from Jefferson City. And election integrity that puts power back in the hands of voters. I'm asking for the opportunity to serve, to bring common sense, constitutional, conservative leadership to District 162 and help restore a government that is truly of, by, and for the people. If you believe it's time to turn Missouri right side up, I'd be honored to have your vote on August the 4th. Thank you.
Gentlemen, again, thank you both for going on the record with us. That does conclude this candidate forum. Again, Walter Hayes, Roger Koch, candidates for the Missouri House of Representatives in the 162nd District. Once again, thank you both for going on the record with us.